Happy Christmas Eve on the Morning Mindset. This is Kerry Green. I wish you the merriest, happiest of Christmases that is filled with the Christ of Christmas. It's my prayer that Santa and reindeer and gifts and all those things be set aside so that we can see Jesus as the glorious center of the Christmas story. And today I want to talk about that from the perspective of a faithful Jewish person in first century Galilee or first century Judea. What would they have seen? What would they have heard? And how would they have understood this Messiah coming into their midst? You know, many of the people of the day did not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. And in fact, most of them outright rejected him as their Messiah because he wasn't what they had as a preconceived notion of who the Messiah would be. But I want to go today to Isaiah chapter 40. This is one of the most clear prophecies about the coming of the Messiah. And I want to read through it and think about who was this Messiah who really did come back in that day. Jesus, the Christ, the Son of the living God. Isaiah chapter 40 reads this way. It says, "Comfort, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her that her warfare is ended, that her iniquity is pardoned, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins." A voice cries, "In the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken." Now, as we listen to those verses, the first 5 verses of Isaiah chapter 40, we can see in there reasons to think that the Messiah would come as a political savior, one who would throw off the yoke of slavery. We talked about that in yesterday's Morning Mindset. Because it says, tell Jerusalem that her warfare is ended. There's an idea there that oppression and strife and violence would cease. And to a first century Jew, what would likely immediately come to their mind when they heard those phrases would be the Roman occupation, because they saw the abuse of Roman soldiers often. They saw the executions outside the city often. And so to them, that was the violence. That was what was being referred to here. And yes, in part, it was being referred to. But what God was saying, and we can see it more easily now from the standpoint of history, you know, we have the luxury of years between us and the prophecy and its fulfillment. And so we can see more of what it clearly meant. It says in the very next phrase, after it says her warfare is ended, it says that her iniquity is pardoned. Iniquity is sin. So something was going to take place that would cause Israel's sin to be pardoned, to be forgiven. And that seems to be one of the things that the people of that day did not notice as much as they noticed their area of felt need, that their warfare was going to be ended. You see, I think what they believed was that God was simply saying, okay, you've had enough punishment. It's time now for you to be restored. But that phrase, that her iniquity is pardoned, being cleansed, tells us there's more than just that in mind here. Because God, being righteous and just, cannot just set aside sin without some way of justifying that action. And tomorrow, on Christmas Day, we're going to talk about that salvation, that forgiveness that God has provided to us through that little infant, Jesus Christ, who came into the world to save sinners like you and me. Join me again tomorrow for the Morning Mindset and share it with somebody that you know.